Hi, everybody. I am Michael DeVellis. This is the Powder Group Conversations with Joe Dulude on Transformation. We are here in part due to our wonderful sponsors. Those are Scandinavia Cinema Secrets, Omnia, Beekman 1802, Senna Cosmetics, and Muse Beauty Pro. These program sponsors have allowed this program to happen for the entire year of 2021 as we're all exiting the pandemic and getting back to normalcy and getting back to our careers and our lives and our brand partnerships. We are all here for each other. And I'm so grateful that those 6 brands have locked in this sponsorship for the year to allow us to do these programs. So thank you to our sponsors and thank you to Joe Dulude for being with us today. This is great. When I think of you, and I feel bad because when I think of inviting you to participate in something, I feel like I always say, can we do a transformation thing? Can we do a creating the character thing? Can we do, because it's just like so inspirational when you do these programs. But there's so much more to, number one, you as an artist, and secondly, so much more to the idea of transformation. So when we spoke about this, we didn't want to limit it to just this idea of Joe's going to tell you how he creates a transformational makeup. We've seen it, we love it, and I hope we're going to see it again. But right now, what I wanted to do is for those folks who maybe only know you as Joe, who is this theatrical artist and this person who is truly, and I'm going to probably say the word transformation or transformational 1,000 times in 30 minutes, but it's truly transformational. You take a thing that exists and you make it something else. And so for me, I'd love to start with this question first of what does transformation mean to you?
Well, it's interesting because it's been something that I've been thinking about for many years now as I've sort of been transforming myself. And it's hard to pinpoint a specific definition because it has so many layers to it. So it can be about transforming yourself into the person that you want to be. So where you change and you become the thing that you've always thought of in your head, the person that you've always seen. And I think about that a lot, like especially with transgender, and having worked with transgender youth. Like the first time they see themselves externally as the person they've always been internally, and they have this amazing realization, and that's sort of part of it. But then it could also just be something small, like transforming like your diet, where you're getting healthier. So it has like a lot of layers, but I guess you would say it's from, making yourself from one thing that you've been into something that you want to become.
I like that. I think, a lot of us think it has to be dramatic or drastic. Like it has to be a very big shift from A to Z, but
Right.
what I'm hearing from you is it can be from A to B. It can be from A to C, right?
Yeah. And I mean, my personal transformation took years and years and years of me doing these small things, doing this small work. I mean, I'm still transforming. I just got a Peloton. Who knew?
I saw that. I saw
I
that.
know, like, I'm like, who is this person? I hate working out. I do love cycling though. But even small things like that, or like deciding, okay, you know what, this week I'm not going to drink alcohol and I'm going to do a little detox and I'm going to drink some juices. Like even that's a small transformation that gets you to the next step, because people think like you have to do everything like big all at once, and you have to go like, you have to stop drinking cold turkey and you can't drink for like 3 months and you have to drink juices every day. But that's hard to do. It's like people who try to stop smoking. You can't just, it's very hard to just be like, okay, I'm not smoking ever again. You have to take it in steps sometimes.
So I mean, this is the first 6 minutes have already been like, I'm like, okay, we got everything. So
See you later. Bye-bye.
see you later, guys. So transformation, number one, does not need to be from its start to finish dramatic and huge, but it also, you're saying that transformation can be over stages. So you can set this idea of transforming, and transforming can be small transformations that maybe lead to something bigger, or a major transformation at once, which is great. I think those are both really important things to consider, because to your point, I think people think about it, okay, I'll use your example because both of us love a cocktail. I'm not going to drink this week, but then it's a beautiful day and I want to have a glass of wine. And so I'm like, oh, well, now I've not already failed at this not drinking for the week, or so I'm going to just drink again tomorrow night instead, just then pull back for the next day. And I think that idea of, with our artistry, with our careers, This past year and a half has been very transformative for people because of the fact that people were forced into other things. We
Right.
transformed into a virtual programming at the Powder Group. You transformed into doing stuff online as well.
Yep.
Let me ask you this. Let's talk about makeup artistry and your artistry for a minute. And then we'll talk a little more about this idea of transforming in a bigger picture way, personally and professionally. What is this idea of transformational artistry, and when did you start with it? Because we know you're in theater, but you started off not as a theatrical makeup artist, but as an artist. So how did you start thinking that transformational work was a big thing? And is it a part of all makeup artistry because we're transforming in every case?
Yeah.
Or what are your thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, I think all makeup is transformational because you are making someone into someone else. You are making them into a character, whether you're doing theater and creating these larger than life characters on stage, or whether you're doing a bride's makeup and creating this, persona or this image that she wants to convey for her wedding day and have in pictures for the rest of her life. She may not look like that every day, but this sort of gives her like the person that she wants to be for that day and the way that she wants to look. So I think all makeup is transformational. Even if you're just covering someone's blemishes on their face, they look at themselves and they see someone totally different because
Mhm.
for their whole lives they've just seen these blemishes on their face. And now they don't see them and it's like, "Ooh, who can I be now?" Um there's a confidence that comes with that. For me, my transformation sort of started when I moved out of New York and moved to Western Mass. And I've always loved performing, and I cut my performance short because I was always very self-conscious. And so I was afraid of what people thought of me, which is a stupid thing if you're a performer because you're not playing yourself up on the stage, you're playing someone else. But I was always so afraid that like people were going to be judging me up there. So when I got to Western Mass, I got in with this amazing group called Eggtooth Productions, and we would do different performances and immersive shows. And it started to free me up a little bit. And then one year we were doing a holiday show that was just like a cabaret. And I said to the woman who's my friend, who's the artistic director, I would love to sing a song in drag. Which is something I never do because I don't sing in public. Well, I never used to sing in public unless it was in a room in karaoke with James. And that was it. I was like, I don't need to sing. I don't have that great of a voice, but I really wanted to push myself, and I did it. And I sang Rainbow Connection and had pictures of diverse families projected behind me. And each night I did a different drag. And at that point, it was like sort of this beginning of feeling the transformation through the makeup, through the hair, through the outfit. And then it started to progress and I started to do drag. And then the following year I created the character of Mr. Drag to host the holiday show, which was the most depressing holiday show you've ever seen. And afterwards people said to me and my performance partner that we were the best part of the show.
Mm.
And so we really realized something's here. This is something. And we started developing it, and now it's a staple of the community. But doing drag, um, it actually made me more comfortable with myself. It made me more comfortable with my feminine side. And so, like, taking this idea of transformation, this idea of character, these were all characters that were inside of me, all parts of me that then I was able to take and do the external. So, like doing DJ Helen Hayes, doing Dolly Dean, doing Tajine Dijon, Jones Lawrence, like all those people were all parts of me that I then was able to take this little part out and then like put it out here and perform as it, but it's also, allowing me to be more who me.
Is there, do you feel like your work in theater, I mean, when you're transforming Adina Menzel into Elphaba, like that's a pretty major transformation, right? Um, is there something that comes from your theatrical background that gives you that ability to just see the potential in transformation, or do you think everyone has it in them?
I think everybody has it in them. I was just lucky that I did a lot of theater. And so my job was to take words and a story and make a character from what was happening in the story, what the costumes were, and be able to formulate a look that created this character. So I had that experience. And that really helped me because the tools were there. But I think everybody has it. It's like when people tell me, I'm not an artist, I can't do that. I'm like, yes, everyone is an artist, but we're all artists in different ways. So someone's strength may be in business and numbers, and that's an artistry that a lot of other people can't do. For me, I have a strength in character creation, in doing these characters and creating a totally different look on my face. Other people do have that, but without the experience, they may feel like they don't. And I think it's practice. It's just going and doing it. And I think we have that fear inside of us that says, "Oh no, I can't be." Like when we're at Elevation next week, like someone saying, "I can't believe I'm sitting next to Joe for an art project," right? It's like, why? Like I have a different style than you do, but eventually overcame that fear. And that's the thing, is having that fear inside of you that says, oh, I can't do that. I look at someone like Jackie, who is doing all the self-portrait work, and it was that fear that she never thought she could do it, and then she overcame that fear and faced that fear and made it a part of her, and now it's a part of all of her self-portraits. But for the longest time said, I can't do it, I just can't do it.
Yeah. And she's actually on with us watching right now. So Jackie Van Riet, you are an inspiration, and she did a session with us as well. Like it's so it's so interesting for me to see people coming into themselves while transforming, which is ironic, right? Coming into yourself through transformation
Right.
seems like a contradiction in terms, but it really is exactly what it is.
Yeah.
Um, it seems to me that you've also been making sort of a personal shift in your artistry. So we know you do theater. You've also started doing more film.
Yeah.
When do you know that there's a time to shift and change? I mean, you've also done photography. You create art. You create political statement art. Like when is the point where you say, I need something else? I want to do something else. I find something else interesting. When do you know it's time to shift? Let's talk career first. So
Mhm.
from a theatrical, working in retail to a theatrical makeup artist to working in film, how does that transition? Educator through, the schools that you've worked for.
Mhm. Um, well, I switched over in theater. Going into theater was just sort of a right place, right time kind of thing for me. I mean, I did theater as a kid and as in at college, so I had that background. But it was never something I thought I would be able to get into. Like, especially like when I started being a makeup artist, never thought that was some like an actual job. Um, until I was, told by James, like, you should be a makeup artist, like you need to do this, and so I did. And then I was doing editorial and fashion. I was working in television. I had moved out to LA, and then I happened to be in the right place, the right time, back in New York, and then got involved in theater. Um, and but then I got sort of stuck in a rut and didn't know how to get out of it. Um, and it was evolution that got me out of it, that got me into being like, oh, I thought I had to be this certain way and do this certain style of makeup because I'm in theater and this is what we do. And then it made me realize, no, I can be much more than this. And that's when I really started doing my sort of signature style and signature design for productions. And then after that, there came a time where I was like, I can't be in New York anymore. And I just felt it. I felt it really deep inside of me. I was like, this is not the place for me. It was like when I left Rhode Island and moved to Atlanta when I was 21. I was like, this is not the place for me. But I took that risk. And I think that's part of it, is you have to be willing to take the risk. You have to be willing to accept the consequences. Some may be good and some may be not, but you have to be willing to do that and take that risk. And the same thing when I decided I was done with New York and moved up to Western Mass, I was like, if I have to get like a job in a coffee shop, I'll do it. But then I moved and I was happy with the move and the transformation that happened. And suddenly everything opened up. I got more work, because I was happy in my environment and happy in my life. I found a community up there that has supported me and allowed me to do all the things that I want to do. And I think that's the thing, is we think in a linear way. And I think we have to be able to think that there are all these possible offshoots of that line that could create. It's like when they talk about multiple dimensions, like if you just say yes to this one thing, then your whole life goes off into another direction. But you have to be open to those things. And that's part of the transformation, is allowing, that risk to come, and allowing yourself to be willing to be in that space.
It I feel like there for you have been catalysts. There's been a moment or a thing or an
Yeah.
action that's happened that's helped you, you know, and I think that you have a very strong energy and you're very confident. Again, that's what comes across to people, right? If you are someone who is looking to transform or feels they should be transforming into some other thing, career wise, let's say, or life wise, and you're looking for that permission, I think is a good word. I think you're looking for approval from
Yep.
someone, right, to say yes. But you in your examples, you didn't wait for approval. You went and did it, and then when there was approval, you felt good about it, and so you continue to do it. How does one, and maybe you've not been in this scenario because you're incredibly talented at everything you do, but have you ever been in a place where you wanted a transformation or wanted a shift, and you said, this is what I want. You've tried it and it wasn't well received, and you had a hard time continuing to push yourself forward?
Yeah, I mean, I think for years I've been saying, I'm done with doing makeup and I want to move on to something else. And at certain times I have left the industry. When I lived in New York, I left and I managed a vegan restaurant, and it was awful. It was horrible. I, because I had had this desire to open a coffee shop, and I was like, this is the perfect experience. I'll manage this vegan restaurant, and then I'll learn everything I need to learn, and then I can open up my own place.
Mhm.
It was not for me. And
Mm.
it was a tough 3 months. I was crying every night when I came home from work. And I had to at some point realize I made a mistake. But I had to be okay with that and be like, okay, well, you know what? I tried it and I know this is not for me. So now what's the next step? Many years later, here in Western Mass, I was like, all right, I'm going to get out of this again. And I started working for a study abroad company that specialized in the performing arts. And I thought, like, this is great. I'll get to travel, I get to do all this stuff. And then the job was me sitting at a desk all day long. And I was like, this is not for me. And I made a huge mistake. I made a huge mistake doing this. And I had told everybody, at least with the vegan restaurant, I didn't really say anything to anybody, so no one knew. But with this one, I told everybody that I was leaving. I had this job. I was so excited for it. And then 3 months into it again, I was like, this is not what I want. And I had to swallow my pride because I had told everybody this is it. And then be like, okay, I made a mistake. And that, when I said that to myself and made the decision to quit, that was when I got Jesus Christ Superstar for NBC. And it was like, it's those little things when, you just sort of accept what the situation and are not embarrassed about it. People have told me forever, you can't quit makeup. You can't quit makeup. You're too good. You're too good. And I'm like, but if it's not making me happy anymore, then I need to figure out what will make me happy.
Do you think that happiness, or feeling it, I'm going to use a dramatic term, an emptiness, like you're looking to fill a void that you're not filling right now, or being unhappy in a place you are, relationship wise, location where you're physically located, your career choices that you're making, how does that play? Is that always a point of it? Is that always going to be a trigger for change? Or sometimes can you just be I mean, I'm thinking back to my time when I was an executive with Mac, and I was very happy, but I just thought, I want to do more than this. I want something else. How dramatic does it have to be to push you into transformation? Or, I mean, I think a lot of people have a hard time with that. They're on autopilot. They feel good. They feel safe and
Yep.
comfortable.
Yep.
So does there need to be a trigger?
Um, I think there needs to be something, but it doesn't have to be something huge. You could just say, like, I feel like I should be doing something more. It's not that you're unhappy, but you feel like you're not living up to your potential, or that there's more that you could give your community or society or the makeup world, or the job that you work in or your relationship. You feel like there's something more that you could be giving, even though you're comfortable. And that is even, I think that is tougher than saying I'm unhappy, because at least when you're unhappy, you're like, I gotta get out of here. I gotta get out of here. But being safe and comfortable, you're like, but if I do this, like, then I could lose everything, or I could make a mistake, and I could, end up kind of screwing things up. But it's that, again, it's that risk, it's that jump into the unknown, it's that jump into the uncomfortableness that then will transform you, that will make you into a different person. And that is good. Like, we should always be challenging ourselves to be able to do that. So it doesn't take a big thing. The big things are easy because it's right in front of your face. The smaller things are, a little bit harder.
One of the things I had a conversation with someone probably a couple weeks ago, it was right before we were all in Provincetown, and they said, I really want to find my spirituality. I've found kind of fallen out of it. And I'm not a religious person, but I'm very spiritual in my own way, Joe. And I said to this person, I said, if you want to get more spiritual, go to church. If you want to make sure you practice yoga, sign up for a yoga class and go to it. Like, you have to surround yourself with people who are on that same path, that same thing, and surround yourself with acceptance. Everything you're sharing with us is amazing. And what I love about your story is that your journey has been one of risk lots of times, whether you physically moved location where you're sitting, where you're living, whether you have taken on a new role or a new opportunity that you may have thought would be great, you decided against it. I think truth and honesty with yourself
Mhm.
is what you're saying. And I think that not waiting for other people's approval to make the decision, but surrounding yourself with people who approve and are supportive,
Right.
because it's really hard to transform if everyone around you is pushing back. And I think your work with the trans youth groups and LGBTQ community has been so important. And I think that for me, when you're working with someone else, and neither of us are therapists, but when we're talking to someone who is having a hard time and not being supported, what are the things that you provide them, whether it's someone in the LGBTQ community happening to have a hard time transitioning into whether they're in a trans life or whether they are just trying to come out into their community? What are some ways you help people from a human standpoint think about transformation in their lives?
I think the most important thing, two things, is one, you have to listen to them. You have to listen to what it is that they're actually saying. And sometimes we listen to people, but we don't listen close enough, because people sometimes will give you hidden messages in a general statement. And you use the their voice, their body language, things like that. So I think, like, really being an active listener to someone is important, and also seeing them as they want to be seen, because we also have preconceived notions when we look at someone or know someone even, that we think this is how they are, but you don't necessarily know. Like, during the pandemic, people thought I was like making art like crazy every single day because that's what I showed them. But they didn't see the weeks where I sat on the couch and couldn't even get off the couch to do anything because I was so depressed. And I don't really share that with everybody, because that's me. Like, that's who I am. There are people that do share it all the time, and that is great, but it's not who I am. And so I think, people look at me and be like, oh my God, he's so successful, he's so talented, he has the most amazing life. Everybody thinks I'm like a millionaire. Like, they think I have all this money in the world because I show the good part of my life,
Yeah.
and you don't see the other parts of my life when all of a sudden my bank account is down to zero and don't know what to do. So I think that's part of it, is really seeing the person as they want to be seen as well.
That's a huge deal. I think, that just that welcoming acceptance by could be a stranger,
Yeah.
that sees you and hears you and acknowledges you as you are, as you want to be seen and heard, is a big deal. I don't want to not talk a little bit about your personal transformational makeup, because it's so fascinating to everybody. And I'm going to get tons of messages afterwards saying, how did you not ask him about Mr. Drag? You talked about theater and then talked about starting and doing drag, but what is your starting point for creating a character for yourself personally? Is it internal? Is it external?
Um, I mean, Mr. Drag developed over a period of time. So he didn't have a voice. He wasn't as drunk. Actually, he wasn't drunk at all the first time. Um, and so I think it is experimentation. So you pick something. I knew I wanted to not shave off my beard. So that's just a practical thing. Um, and I did research. I looked at a bunch of drag queens. I looked at styles. And that's how I design a character too. Like you do the research, you have to look up the period, you have to look up whatever it is, you know, the location or you know, the genre. And so I did that, and it was I saw a picture of oh my God, I'm blanking out. Oh God, did you do RuPaul's Make Matthew?
Matthew Anderson.
Thank you. I was like, why am I blanking out on that name? My memory shot. Matthew Anderson. So I saw a picture of him with a beard, and that's what inspired me to create the makeup. And so I did all these different makeups on when I was doing it. And now I've come up with a specific style. I change colors and stuff, but it took a bunch of times of doing it. So you can't think that you're going to do it right the first way, and everything's going to be great. And so then I've had these other characters that I was like thinking about doing. And so then again, it was like doing my research. Like when I did Jones Lawrence, who has like extreme plastic surgery, but not good plastic surgery, I researched and I found someone that looked almost exactly like I wanted to look. So then I was like, how do I create that? Well, I need face tapes. So I need to be like pulling this, and then, you know, I need to cover my eyebrows. And I was like, okay, one has to be slightly higher than the other because I don't want him to look like he has perfect surgery. And so it's like, you know, taking all those little elements in and then being like, okay, the next time I did it, I was like, I have a picture of the first time. So then the next time I do it, what do I want to make different on this time? Do I like it, or is there improvements that I need to make? And so that's sort of how it happened. And wanting, you know, and then I'll just get, my head is always full with things, and songs will inspire me. Like I'll get an idea for an entire Mr. Drag scene by listening to a song. Um, Seeing, you know, other people's work inspires me, where I'll be like, oh my God, this would be kind of cool if I did like a character that was kind of like that, but you know, maybe she's a smoker. And when I teach my students how to do it, it's about thinking about those things. Like, are they a drinker? Are they a smoker? You know, what life do they live? Where do they live? You know, what has their life been? Like you can write a fictional history of this person, and it gives you the elements that you need. Like if they live in a trailer park, it's much different than if they live in a mansion. You know, if they're, you know, a heavy drinker, it's much different than if they are spiritual and do yoga every day. There's a different look that they're going to have. There's a different feel to the skin, a different texture to the skin, you know, and so those are the little things that you have to start working on with it.
It's great advice, and I love what you just said. If you're trying to come up with a character, write the story, write who that character is. Like it's a character breakdown for a script, right? You're
Yeah.
creating like the who are they, what do they do, where do they live, what is their socioeconomic status, who are their friends, because then you can understand a little bit more about what the look is transformationally. I
And you can
think
also start with an archetype too. Like if you are unclear of where to go, like think of this character. What's the archetype of this character? So we'll say like a superhero, you know, like say you're creating a superhero character. We'll go look at superheroes. What do superheroes look like? You know, what's the ideal of a superhero? And then start from there. And then you start building up from there too.
um, I think the idea that it doesn't all have to be already built in is really important, because I think that people look at someone like yourself who is an incredible transformer from an artistic standpoint, and you think, yeah, but I don't have that skill. I don't know how to do that. And really what you're saying is you're generally not starting with nothing either. Like you're starting with some sort of an inspiration for that, whether it's again Matthew Anderson's look where he has makeup on but is wearing a beard, whether it's a character breakdown, whether it's a song. And I think that that's really important. I love that idea. We all pictured superheroes and what their archetype looks like, that perfected skin, those sculpted cheekbones, like everything is like solid and perfect. We know what superheroes look like. It's such a great idea to start with something so simple as that.
Yeah.
Before I let you go, I want to ask if there's anything, and maybe you got some secret projects coming you can't share, but what is Joe Dulude II's next transformation?
Um, Business owner. So I can say that much about it. Um, you know, but it's also a process. And so it's not, you know, the work that needs to be done is a lot. And so I have to also continue what I'm doing and know that somehow I need to fit that into this crazy busy schedule that I have. And also taking more time to myself is part of that, being able to do some of the things that I want to do. I haven't been able to work on any of my art since last year because I've been working like crazy, which is fantastic. But for me, doing my art is really important, and I need to figure out how to fit that into the schedule. So I think that's part of my next transformation. We are continuing doing Mr. Drag shows, but we're doing the Drag Sisters now. So we're moving away from Mr. Drag and Carl. Carl's going to go do his own thing, and then guest star on some things, but the Drag Sisters are now. So we're doing a show in September. I've been working on the show for over a year. It was supposed to be last year live. That didn't happen. It's supposed to, then we were going to do a video. We couldn't get our schedules matched up. Then it was going to be a video again. Then I realized it's too much work for me to edit that all together. So we're doing it live, and we're doing it for the opening of the theater. So continuing to like do that stuff, continuing to work on more performance, continuing to work on more of my art so I can have, you know, more shows, and then opening this business to finally like do something that is mine and not.
I love it. Where can we follow you on social media, and where can we make sure we get information about this September opening and this show you're launching?
So my Instagram is Dulude2, so my last name with the number 2. And then you can also look up Mr. Drag Bon Vivant. And he has his own Instagram, which has been a little slack lately. Both of ours have been a little slack lately because, you know, doing the stuff that I'm doing with film and TV, I can't post anything, and nothing exciting is really, you know, nothing super huge has happened. So, you know, that I can post about. So, yeah, so those are the 2 places where you'll find out, but it is September 10th and 11th in Western Mass at the Shade Theater in Turner's Falls, 7:30. And it's going to be a good one. Roller skates will be involved. I'll just say that.
Anytime you add Joe Dulude II plus roller skates
In
plus
drag.
Western Mass in drag, sign me up. I think we're going to do a powder group field trip. We'll be there. Joe, thank you so much for being with us today. Super inspirational as always. And thank you for all you're doing again this evening with the LGBTQ community support and being a part of the Artist Summit in the fall. We love you at the Powder Group. You know you in my heart. I just want to thank our sponsors once again. This has been Michael DeVellis with the Powder Group Conversations featuring Joe Dulude on Transformation. Thank you to our sponsors, Scandinavia Cinema Secrets, Omnia, Bigman 1802, Muse Beauty Pro, and Senna Cosmetics. We appreciate you all. Thank you, Joe. Thanks, everybody.
Bye.